What if everything that you have been taught about your health, your food, and your environment was deliberately engineered to control you? Well, we've uncovered a thread from Matrix Mysteries of explosive revelations about everyday facts that are actually elaborate deceptions. Who was Edward Bernays, and how did he manipulate your morning routine? What toxic industrial byproduct are you drinking daily because corporations rebranded it as healthy? And why were you taught to fear the same sun that sustained life for millions of years? And what was the COVID era really testing on the population? The invisible cage is all around you, and tonight we're going to give you the keys to break free. And while the invisible cage of lies keeps most Americans trapped in skyrocketing energy costs, I've discovered a secret weapon to fight back. As energy bills rise at historic rates, up 60% in just 2 years, this sophisticated device is helping tens of thousands slash their power bills. It stabilizes electrical currents and reduces dirty electricity while protecting your appliances. Unlike the matrix of lies about climate change and energy scarcity, this is a real solution that gives you control. Simply plug it into any wall outlet to help dramatically lower your consumption and escape the utility company's grip. Order now at don'twastepower.com with 65% off. Breakfast. It is the most important meal of the day. Start your day right with meat. Yep, look at that classic advertisement. So what are we going to find out? Well, here's a wonderful quote from Mark Twain. This thread opens up with, "The cage is invisible because you were born inside it, and they taught you to love the bars." Here's a thread exposing everyday lies and propaganda we've been sold. Number one, breakfast is not the most important meal of the day. Yes, they state here you don't need breakfast. You were just told you do. The idea that breakfast is the most important meal of the day is manufactured, not discovered. It began as a clever marketing campaign by Edward Bernays, hired to boost sales of bacon and sausages, not public health. Edward Bernays, the father of PR and propaganda. That's who he is.
Will lead to heart attack.
They say breakfast is the most important meal of the day.
Most important meal of the day.
So we better eat breakfast.
A study from none other than Harvard University states that men who regularly skip breakfast have a 27% higher risk of suffering a heart attack.
This disease will lead to heart attacks and strokes.
Heart attacks and strokes? Oh no, I skip breakfast. But I'm not worried because now I know there's no proof that skipping breakfast causes heart attacks or any other problem. That Harvard study, the authors actually concluded it remains unknown whether specific eating habits influence heart disease risk. There's no proof that skipping breakfast is harmful in any way.
It's been pushed. It doesn't really hold water.
Nutritionist Ruth Kava points out that all the claims about breakfast being especially important are just unproven. That strokes and heart attack news persists because people who skip breakfast have more health problems. But that's partly because breakfast skippers are more likely to smoke and eat unhealthy foods. There is just no proof that skipping breakfast itself causes problems. I've skipped breakfast for years.
That's fine.
Really? Fine?
It works for you. You're not fat.
We're all different.
Yeah, we're all different. We have to do what's comfortable for us.
Another myth about breakfast is that skipping it may make you fat.
People who skip breakfast were more likely to be the big weight gainers over time.
The government claimed that just 9 years ago, saying not eating breakfast has been associated with excess body weight. But that's not true either, according to a new analysis.
They looked at a number of different studies, and they did not find that eating breakfast helped people lose weight.
So how did some researchers and our government get it so wrong? Partly because eating habits are hard to study. You can't follow test subjects for years, controlling what they eat. Most studies are based on what people say they ate, and people forget or lie. Also, we may have been suckered by studies funded by cereal makers. Of the 15 studies involving children mentioned by the government, 5 list funding from General Mills or Kellogg.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, they're the ones that are interested in having their products sold.
In fairness, not all cereal companies spin the results. One study funded by Quaker Oats found eating breakfast did not help people lose weight. This study was unfavorable to Quaker Oats, but Quaker Oats said, let's publish it.
Good for Quaker Oats.
But let's not count on companies to tell us the truth about nutrition. Study found people who didn't eat breakfast could lose weight by starting to eat breakfast. Kellogg's touted this on their cereal boxes.
Don't get your nutrition education from cereal boxes.
Are you okay?
Hi.
But what if instead of a cereal box, it's America's First Lady on Sesame Street?
I am very tired and have no energy. Oh.
I think I know what would help.
What, Secret Service? Air Force One?
No, Grover, a healthy breakfast.
Now, there is data that shows
Children who do not have decent nutrition during the course of the day have been shown to do better if they get some food into them in the morning. That's where that comes from.
it's valid.
It's appropriate.
Unfortunately, on Sesame Street, Michelle Obama doesn't just say children, she says everyone.
Grover, breakfast isn't just for first ladies. Everyone should have a healthy breakfast.
Oh, not me.
And much of the media push nonsense like claims that if you eat the right breakfast,
you are going to end up boosting your metabolism, losing the belly fat, restoring gut health.
Restoring gut health? There is so much bad information out there. The current consensus is eat breakfast if you're hungry.
Eat breakfast if you're hungry. If not, eat a little later.
I love John Stossel. Edward Bernays. Brighter breakfasts make brighter days. Eat your sausage and your bacon. Check this out.
Fast or fiction? Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Fiction. Your fast breaker is the most important meal of the day. Breakfast implies that you're eating that first thing in the morning, the first meal of the day. Well, in a way, the first meal of the day is still important if you're fasting. It's just coming after you break your fast. Breakfast is just ingrained in our minds as what we eat right when we get out of bed. And realistically, there are multiple studies that prove that's just not the case. You can lose just as much weight, you can be just as healthy, if not even more healthy, by skipping breakfast than you can if you eat it. Breakfast is simply something that was popularized by the cereal companies, and it makes perfect sense as to why. There's different benefits with different fast breakers at various times of the day. So one fast breaker might not be the perfect meal for morning, but it might be the perfect meal for breaking your fast in the afternoon. For some people, eating earlier in the day and then fasting the rest of the day is a terrific strategy. So to learn more about early time-restricted feeding, check out the video that we did with Dr. Peter Attia.
Oh, and then we have this. Fluoride. The lie you've been drinking for decades. And now RFK Jr. is calling for it to be removed. But of course, they're freaking out on CNN. What is in a glass of tap water? You can see this is from Earth 20 Genesis. Arsenic, contaminants, pesticides, nitrates, hormones, fluoride compounds, hexavalent chromium, lead, trihalomethanes, aluminum, pharmaceutical drugs.
CDC does not have any data.
But here we have the CNN admitting under oath that fluoride interferes with the functions of brain and body.
CDC agrees with NRC that it is apparent that fluorides have the ability to interfere with the functions of the brain and the body by direct and indirect means.
Yes, CDC in connection with the Intergovernmental Work Group.
It's correct to say that CDC does not have any data on the tolerable upper fluoride intake for neurotoxic effects for infants.
Yes.
Okay. And you see how the definition also includes toddlers. Mm-hmm. So CDC does not have any data on the tolerable upper fluoride intake for neurotoxic effects on toddlers.
That's true.
Okay. There's been 2 studies now from the Dr. Who's birth cohort in Mexico City, and there's been 2 studies from the Canadian cohort that Dr. Lancier has been working on. All 4 of these studies have found significant and large associations between early life fluoride exposure and adverse neurodevelopmental effects. CDC agrees with NRC that it is
Let's keep going. What are they saying over on CNN?
Definitely did not expect to be asking you about fluoride in water 2 days before the election. I was a little shocked that one of their closing arguments for Donald Trump was take the fluoride out of water.
He's going to have a big role in healthcare, a very big role. He knows it better than anybody.
We haven't talked about this at all in the last 700 days, but suddenly the thing that's been normal in this country for 80 years, it's like, we're going to get rid of that on day one.
In the tweet last night, on January 20th, the Trump White House will advise all U.S. water systems to remove fluoride from public water.
He also linked to a site that features outlandish health claims, conspiracy theories like HIV-like viruses are in vaccines, and widely debunked medical claims.
This is a tweet from you. Fluoride is an industrial waste associated with arthritis, bone fractures, bone cancer, IQ loss, neurodevelopmental disorders, and thyroid disease.
Of course, fluoride is in water has been known to keep your teeth healthy, prevent cavities.
It is safe. It's not toxic.
There are some rocks to be thrown, frankly, at RFK Jr. about this stuff, because some of it actually is just straight up dangerous.
23.5 million people thought it was pretty great. The news media hated it.
And Big Pharma profits over cures. The pharmaceutical industry isn't built to cure you. It's built to keep you dependent. Their focus is on high-cost treatments that manage symptoms, not solutions, that end the cycle of illness. Natural remedies and cures are often ignored, discredited, or outright suppressed, not because they don't work, but because they can't be patented or sold. The goal isn't healing, it's control, and it's worth billions. So what has changed in the last 30 years? Here's the disease or the disorder, and the increase since 1990. Look at that. Look at that. Unbelievable.
Perfectly fine.
Check this
40
out.
years ago, it was perfectly fine for a cholesterol level of 300. Now, has everyone got that? 300. What are you told today if you're 300? Last year in Maryland, I was talking to a lady in her 70s who was a pathologist. She said, I used to do all the testing on blood cholesterol levels. We considered a cholesterol level of 350 perfectly fine. What are you told today? It can't go over 190, am I right? What do they want you down to, 150? Do you know the fattiest organ in the body is the brain? And cholesterol is used to protect the brain against chemicals, heavy metals. We've been deceived. And the cholesterol-lowering medication, its side effect is dementia, muscle wasting, Alzheimer's, breast cancer, vitamin D deficiency, because our sex hormones are made from cholesterol. And if we don't have enough vitamin D, we can't get the minerals into our bones to have strong bones. So what have we got now? Osteoporosis. It's all about precision balance. We need that cholesterol. Framingham Heart Study, been going for 40 years, set up to prove that cholesterol causes heart disease, still hasn't 40 years later. But you know what it did show? People with high cholesterol levels don't get Alzheimer's. Now, do you need a moment's silence to digest that one?
Wow. And what do we have here? The 2030 food pyramid. Antidepressants, soy milk, bugs, seed oils, and microplastics. And, of course, the narrative. The narrative isn't about health. It's about compliance and control. While certain jabs can play a role, the aggressive push ignores natural immunity, nutrition, and lifestyle, all of which are critical to real, lasting wellness. Louis Pasteur.
Other mutations or other
Zuckerberg warning his staff. Infant deaths decrease 30%.
Linking various vaccines to all of those injuries.
And then we have this. Sunlight causes cancer. A fear-driven lie. You are told to fear the sun and slather on sunscreen. But the real danger might be what's in the bottle. Most commercial sunscreens are filled with toxic chemicals that disrupt hormones and cause oxidative stress. The truth, sunlight's essential. It fuels vitamin D production, regulates hormones, supports immune health. The anti-sun narrative has led to widespread deficiencies and chronic illness to sell a solution that creates more problems. Here's a picture. Yep, Kids enjoying the beach and the sun. Dates of introduction of suntan lotions and sunscreens and age-adjusted melanoma incident rates per 100,000. Look at that. Look at that increase. Skyrocketing over time.
Buy your sunscreen.
Well, in the U.S., 23 brands of sunscreen have been pulled from the market for cancer-causing properties. And if you think about sunscreen causing skin cancer, it's just, you know,
In the
23
US,
brands.
The law about filter in skincare hasn't changed for over 20 years. And, you know, there's like this...
What do you mean filter in skincare?
Yeah, the skincare, the filter, the sunscreen hasn't been changed. The law hasn't been changed for over 20 years. They're still using the same filter. That's why when you come to Europe, buy your sunscreen better in Europe because they're using way more modern filters. But, you know, in general, filters in skincare is not the greatest ingredient. So if you damage your skin constantly, retinol, glycolic, acid peel, you damage. So your skin is vulnerable, it's raw. Sun even penetrates harder, you get more pigmentation, more aging, it can cause cancer, inflammation. So you do so much damage that everybody tells you use sunscreen 24/7. Of course because you destroyed your skin practically.
Right.
So it's actually better if you strengthen your skin, make what you got the best it possibly could be, you know, make it like away from inflammation, hydrate, nutrition, telomerase activation, exosomes.
Check out this graph. 25 years of skin malignancy. I'll zoom in for you. Look at that. 1993 versus 2017. Massive increase. Let's keep going. Climate change is not a crisis. It's a business model. The narrative has been hijacked to push carbon credits, green taxes, and sustainable products that do nothing but line pockets and expand control. Behind every panic headline is a political or financial agenda. The goal isn't to save the planet. It's to reshape economies, restrict freedoms, and sell you guilt-wrapped products under the illusion of virtue.
Time to 1996. The climate right now is no warmer than it's been many times throughout history. Our baseline is now the lowest that carbon dioxide has been in 600 million years. As far as temperature change, the IPCC's first report of 1992 showed that the medieval warm period was warmer than the present. Well, this didn't fit the narrative, so by the time the 1996 report came out, it was a completely contrived graph called the hockey stick. So what they did was they got rid of the medieval warm period and the little ice age, and so instead of the graph doing this, they flattened it out, and then they added instrumental record on the end that looks like it's going way up. The point is that the people that are calling them out on it are not getting the media coverage. You know, because look, at this point there's billions of dollars going into the whole climate change narrative. The climate right now is no warmer than it's been.
Years and decade of highest U.S. state temperature records. Look at the map. The black is before 1920, and the red is the 2000s. Year and decade of highest U.S. state temperature records. So, highest state records. Wow. Keep going. USHCN fabricated and measured Tmax since 1970.
Clear, Mr. Kenny is not a scientist.
This is a great clip. This is the Weather Channel, the former founder of the Weather Channel, who I actually interviewed many years ago. Now here, this is a clip back from when he interviewed on CNN.
He's the CEO of the Weather Channel now. I was the founder of the Weather Channel, not the co-founder.
And I'm glad you did, because I am addicted to the Weather Channel. I watch a lot of cable news.
Now, hold on just a minute. I'm not done. And CNN has taken a very strong position on global warming that it is a consensus. Well, there is no consensus in science. Science isn't a vote. Science is about facts. And if you get down to the hard, cold facts, there's no question about it. Climate change is not happening. There is no significant man-made global warming now. There hasn't been any in the past, and there's no reason to expect any in the future. There's a whole lot of baloney, and yes, it has become a big political point of the Democratic Party and part of their platform, and I regret it's become political instead of scientific, but the science is on my side.
I don't think we're going to come to a conclusion about the topic right here. What I do wonder,
I know
though, is
we're
when
not,
you
because
see
you wouldn't allow it to happen on CNN. But I'm happy that I got on the air and got a chance to talk to your viewers. Hello, everybody. There is no global warming.
What I do wonder is when you see the government, when you see NASA, when you see other institutions say that 97% of climate scientists agree, do you think they're making it up? What I don't understand is how you square that.
That's a manipulated figure, and let me explain it to you. The government puts out about $2.5 billion directly for climate research every year. It only gives that money to scientists who will produce scientific results that support the global warming hypothesis of the Democrat Party position. So they don't have any choice. If you're going to get the money, you got to support their position. Therefore, 97% of the scientific reports published support global warming. Why? Because those are the ones the government pays for, and that's where the money is. It's real simple, but that doesn't mean it's right. That doesn't make it true. That only makes it bought and paid for. The money goes in circles.
I'm not a scientist. I'm not going to try to refute you on
that's
the facts.
The truth.
So I'll simply say that the vast majority...
stand back from this issue and let the two sides be on the air.
Oh, wow. Let's keep going. The skincare scam. Complexity sells, simplicity heals. Skincare industry thrives on manufactured insecurity, selling you 10-step routines, serums, miracle creams to convince you that healthy skin requires complexity and cash. In reality, most of it's unnecessary. Clean ingredients, a simple routine, a healthy lifestyle often do more than shelves full of overpriced products, but simplicity doesn't sell, so they sell you confusion instead. Eyeshadow, shampoo, lipstick, body lotion, deodorant, blush, fake tan.
I have the sugar in it that he has. The largest organ of elimination is the skin. Your skin has millions of little mouths. If you were to look at it under a microscope, you'd see all the tiny little holes. Dr. Kellogg, very famous doctor, he's of Kellogg's cornflakes fame, although I think that he would nearly die if he could see what Kellogg's cornflakes are made of today. It didn't quite have the sugar in it that he had in his. But he wrote many books on health. He was the medical director of one of the largest natural hospitals in America, Battle Creek, 1,000 beds. So he wrote many books on it. He called the pores of the human body millions of little sewers. Why did he call them millions of little sewers? Because they give off waste. They're an organ of elimination. Have you ever had a white shirt on, especially on a hot day when you're perspiring a lot and the collar is brown? What's the brown? It's dirt. Where did the dirt come from? Inside of you. So the skin is a very effective organ of elimination. To be an effective organ of elimination, it has certain needs. It requires you to allow your skin to breathe. Is two sadly very common diseases today called psoriasis and eczema. Eczema is usually the name given for a baby or a child, and psoriasis is usually the name given to the skin disease in the latter years. When I say latter years, I don't mean the elderly years. I'm probably meaning latter past teenage years. So getting into the 20s, 30s, 40s, it's often called psoriasis. And I've seen many people suffer extremely with this. And again, we need to know why. Because remember Newton's third law of motion, that to every action there is an equal and an opposite reaction. So as I go through this presentation, looking at some of the causes, I'm going to be using a couple of stories of people that have come across my path and the factors that came together to cause their psoriasis. And I'm also going to be, as I weave through these stories, show you how they totally conquered it. Did you hear that? Every case of psoriasis, eczema that I have come across, they have been able to conquer it. But I think what we'll do is we'll begin with the babies. So if a baby has psoriasis, I begin to investigate. I talked to the mother. and I say to the mother, is the baby bottle fed? And if the baby is bottle fed, I inquire as to the type of milk the baby's on. And if the mother says it's on a cow's milk formula, then my suggestion is to change over to a goat's milk formula. I don't know about other countries, but I know in Australia you can buy some very nice goat milk formulas. In fact, I think 3 of my grandchildren were raised on the goat milk formulas, so you can get some very good ones. So go over to the goat milk formula, because an allergy to dairy is one of the big factors in the skin diseases. And if the mother is breastfeeding, then I inquire to the mother if the mother's having dairy. Another factor can be wheat, the hybridized wheat. We looked at that in an earlier lecture, how the wheat was hybridized in the 1950s. So it created a structure in the protein or the gluten part of the wheat that is very, very difficult to fully break down for the body. And if it's not fully broken down by the body, it gets into the blood, then antibodies are created and you get this whole reaction in the body, and it's one of the contributing factors to eczema.
Let's keep going. Part 8. Money can buy happiness to an extent, they say. One of the greatest lies ever told is that money doesn't matter. The myth was pushed to keep you content with less while the wealthy continued stacking resources, freedom, and access. The truth, money changes everything. It buys time, security, health, and choices, all core ingredients of happiness. It's not about greed, it's about freedom, and they don't want you to have it. And he has this clip here from, appears to be Andrew Tate. Let's hear.
So the point is that the biggest psyop that the wealthy elites and the people who win at life ever committed was to convince you that money doesn't buy happiness. If money doesn't buy happiness, why do rich people never give their money away?
They all want their money.
They all want their money.
What's that Biggie song? The more money we come across, the more problems. He kept all his money. Exactly. He loved money. He didn't give it away.
Money is like water, right? It won't make you happy in and of itself, but if you go without it for very long, you're going to start really wanting it. You're still going to you're going to start really wanting a drink. So the point is that if you go without money, it's all you think about. Now, when you have money in and of itself, if you have money, but you're still fat like Ethan, yeah, you're going to be unhappy. But money's an important part of life. And don't let people who are hyper successful in every sphere, don't let people like me and Tristan who are in fantastic physical shape, fantastic financial shape, with good brotherhood, with a good network, living a fantastic life. Don't sit there and look at us and go, there must be something they don't like. Instead, go, their life is perfect and I want that. Because the second one will motivate you. The first one allows you to cope and make excuses to not try. You have to try harder or you're never going to win.
And the truth is, we talk in an abrasive way sometimes and we put our message across in a very strange way. But I really like the messages, and people say, Tristan, you have inspired me. Tristan, I have my first kickboxing fight coming up. You have inspired me. This is what you were doing when you were young. I want to learn how to fight. I want to be strong and fit when I'm older. I don't want to look like Ethan. I don't want to look like...
Completely.
So it's cool. I'm trying to inspire.
We love when people win. And what we do is we live by example, right? We're absolute winners and we love when people win. And when you're a winner, you want others to win. There's plenty of room up here at the top, gentlemen. There's plenty of room.
Yep.
You need to look at our lives and be inspired by it. If you're looking at our lives and trying to find some stupid excuse why our life is bad, like seeing us surrounded by beauty queens on a yacht in Cannes and then going, well, they're misogynist,
or they must have paid them. I don't pay women. Shut the fuck up.
They just want to come on our boat. We're famous and cool. The biggest psyop that the wealthy elites and the people...
say what you want about Andrew Tate. That message right there, it makes sense. So I picked out this thread. It showed up in my feed, and I wanted to share it with you because I just found it to be absolutely profound. So make sure I just retweeted it, reposted it on my X account. And I'm following Matrix Mysteries now, so make sure you give them a follow if you want deeper dives and exclusive content. That was pretty profound. So the climate change narrative, it's not a crisis. It's a business model designed to justify global government and financial control. The beauty industry, they created the problem, then sold you the cure. Money doesn't buy happiness. Of course it does. They said that so you stay docile while they build castles. The invisible cage is reinforced every day by TVs, schools, pills, ads, and digital chains. They trained you to mock people who try to wake you up, but now you know the truth. The bars are real, the trap is live, and your compliance is the fuel. So I ask you this. Which of these everyday lies has impacted your life the most dramatically? And how will you break free? Remember to support independent truth-telling with our Next News gear. It's available right now in the Next News merch shop.